Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandra. Today, I am so excited to talk about this book. I read Butcher and Blackbird back in February, and I talked about the book and just kind of my first reactions in my February reading vlog, so definitely check out that video. What I primarily remember about my experience reading book one is that it was so gross and my mind could not marry the grossness with the romance, and so it always just felt really weird to me. But I did find the book really entertaining and hilarious. I think I mentioned in that video I wasn't going to rush off to pick up Leather and Lark, but I pre-ordered it and the book actually arrived almost 3 weeks early, but I held off on reading it until like the day before release day because I kept hearing that the book was even better than the first one, and so I wanted to see if it was true. So I started reading this on June 3rd and I couldn't put it down. It was so funny. Like, it's definitely still gross and a little bit bizarre at times, but I found Lark and Lachlan so lovable and so great together. They were really greatly matched, just like Sloane and Rowan were. And I just found the story really entertaining and I couldn't stop laughing. There were so many parts that just stick with my mind. I feel like I'm going to be thinking about the Ruinous love trilogy for a while. This is going to be somewhat of a chaotic book review, which I think is pretty on par with the books themselves. All I know is this book was a 5-star read for me. I'll let you know why. And I am heavily anticipating the third and final book in the Ruinous love trilogy, which is called Scythe and Sparrow, and it comes out hopefully early next year. So we'll see. I adore these books so much. Like, Leather and Lark makes me want to pick up Butcher and Blackbird again and see if I can rate it higher, because I think now that I get the energy and the vibe of this series, now I can just have fun with it and really understand it. So it's so fun. This book began just... Lark is so lovable in her own way. She is so vindictive.
Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
The thing about these books is, like, they don't just serial kill bad people like other serial killers. They will serial kill people who are just repeat offenders, like rapists, sexual predators, or people that knew of horrible things happening and did nothing and were just very self-serving. So anybody is fair game to be murdered in this series. The first chapter begins with Lark and her now ex-boyfriend. She has him naked and strapped to a chair with like fireworks stuck to his junk, and she just starts playing like Katy Perry Firework and has like a little playlist going for him because she found out that he has been preying on other girls and is a rapist himself and a cheater. And so she just kind of blows his junk up, but he doesn't die. And so that's when she finally kills him off. So the book starts off with a bang. And it just kind of goes from there. There were so many like Constantine, like Keanu Reeves references, like the love interest Lachlan, who is the older brother of Rowan from the first book, is described as like Constantine era Keanu Reeves meets Mad Max Tom Hardy. I'm like, okay, I love both of those things, so sold there. And so the next scene picks up with Lark kind of blundering a murder that she had planned out. She ends up ramming this guy off the road and he drowns in his vehicle, and then she's just kind of stuck because her vehicle has busted from running this guy off the cliff essentially. So she has to call her stepdad, who loves and adores her and will do anything for her, and she has to wait around for a cleanup crew to come. And this is when Lachlan enters the stage. And Lachlan, she calls him Budget Batman, which is so funny because he's just like really gruff and like grunting words out. I'm like hearing Henry in Witcher, just all his grunts that he does. They just have so much feistiness together. He calls her Blunder Barbie. It's like Halloween night, and then it fast forward like a year later, and then there's another time jump a little later in the book. So it's like 2 years that span this book. The tropes in this book are like forced marriage, so it's forced proximity, and they're almost like an enemy to lovers type of thing. Really, the story is just about Lachlan feeling really bad how he treated Lark by locking her in his trunk, and she has a lot of childhood PTSD from a home invasion that her biological father did not survive. So this has been something that she has really struggled with all her life, and it's very traumatizing for her. And Lachlan locks her in his trunk, but she gets out. They end up reconnecting again again, but they don't recognize each other because she had been wearing like Harley Quinn makeup and he was in like scuba diving gear. It isn't until he's opening his mouth and speaking after they make out on the balcony of Rowan and Slow's apartment where she finally realizes that this is budget Batman that was such a dickhead to her, and then they just like start hating each other. But the story is someone has been killing off people every 40 days in Lark's family kind of business. They're afraid that someone in the family is going to be next, maybe even Lark. So they need to hurry up and come up with a plan to like figure out who the killer is before they strike again. And so this is where Lark has the plan to marry Lachlan because her parents, especially her stepfather, is talking about putting a hit on Lachlan because it could be him. And so there's just a lot of shenanigans that come from that. Our girl Lark loves her trophies. There are a number of different trophies throughout the book that are just so gross. I mean, everything from like hearts to fingers turned into snow globes, teeth turned into like maracas, and she's just very creative. Like it talks about her being in like art school kind of, and I love how that was worked into the story because some of the stuff, it's just a very deranged sort of creativity that I couldn't wait to turn the page and see what else was going to happen. There's one scene where she turns an entire body into this coffee table. And it's so gross. It's so disgusting. And then through the story, you also get like a couple chapters from the perspective of the mysterious bad guy. I mean, it's not like a big mystery who it is because it keeps hinting that this is someone who is related to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Butcher and Blackbird. Like apparently that guy that died had a brother named Abe. And so he's the killer here. But it's one of those stories where like Lark and Lachlan will be going about their day, you know, pissing each other off, pushing each other's buttons, or like being angsty and craving and desiring one another. And so they'll do this out in public, at home, just, you know, PDA, wherever. It's one of those books where the killer is always lurking in the background. And of course, Leather and Lark. Lark and Lachlan are completely oblivious to it all. It just kind of umps up the stakes a little bit. There was one character, a side character in this book that I absolutely adored, and it was Lark's mom's sister, so her great aunt Ethel. And Ethel is dying from a serious illness of some kind. She is on her deathbed, really. But she's completely alert. She is such a feisty old woman. She is the one who kind of pioneered their big global, you know, muffin business. And so Ethel, she almost has like this little vindictive streak in her too. And there was a scene where Ethel drugged these muffins that Lachlan and Lark deliver to Lachlan's boss, Leander. And it knocks Leander out. That was like one of my favorite things too. Ethel was such a badass woman. Even when Abe came after her in the hospital and injected her, which ultimately killed her, she still went down like a boss. She never showed an ounce of fear, and she had a lot of faith and belief in her, I guess, niece, if that's what you want to call what Lark is to her. But one of the best characters in the book. Just every scene that she had, she was incredible. Funny, brilliant, just always thinking ahead. She had a lot of foresight into Lachlan and Lark's romantic tension there and could tell that they would be really greatly matched together. So I loved Ethel. I loved seeing Sloane and Rowan get married. That was really sweet. And Lark's reaction to seeing them get married, just being like a total sob case, a baby about it. And Lachlan just kind of observing her and really appreciating that aspect of her, not just being like the cold-hearted killer that she is. There are a lot of scenes where Lark gets to sing or play an instrument or writing music, performing and that kind of thing that I really like to see. It just made the story feel really fleshed out. Also, this book was a super slow burn romance. It's not even until like over a couple hundred pages in where there's like finally some sexy time between Lachlan and Lark. And when it happens, it is just a wildfire. I don't remember Butcher and Blackbird being this steamy and passionate, but I would have to go back and read the book because right now I'm just like, Sloane and Rowan who? Everything about Lachlan and Lark's attraction to each other is just so hot. I just loved getting to see that play out, and it wasn't what I expected either. There was one scene in particular. All I'm going to say is the cello. You kind of knew it was coming whenever he went into his pocket and opened the present while she's on stage with her cello, and you're like, oh no, she's really going this route right now. But it was probably one of the hottest scenes in the book. And then what happened afterward. And then there's another scene after. And then Indonesia at the end is really crazy. There was just a lot of spice. It's like there was this very slow build up to it happening. But once it did, it was like, bam. The last, I don't know, 100 pages or so is just like a lot of that. Whereas the first big chunk of the book was like mostly this plot happening and Lark and Lachlan not getting along, and then them slowly getting to know each other and helping each other out, because Lachlan wants to get out of his horrible contract to Leander, and Lark wants to seek justice on what was done to her when she was back in college, and just a bunch of other repeat offenders. It was such a good book. There was one point I was honestly worried for the dog. I was like, no, Brynne Weaver, if you John Wick this poor dog, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Just a fucking dog. Just a dog.
The dog is fine. The dog is fine. I can sleep at night. The dog is fine. There's so many like out of context things that you could visually put to this book that I think you could entice other people to read if they just want something so absurd but addictive and swoon worthy. I think this is a really great pick. I'll just say, if you didn't like Butcher and Blackbird, or if it just what you didn't see what the appeal of it was, I think Leather and Lark is the answer to that. Because in my head right now, Leather and Lark is just way up here, Butcher and Blackbird down here. I'm going to be reading Butcher and Blackbird again so that I can see where it sits. I've also heard that the audiobook is really good, and with each of the love interests being Irish and having that Irish accent, I really just want to hear it. So I don't know, maybe I'll listen to it on audio as well. All I know is I cannot wait to get Fionn and Rose's story, because Fionn just seems like such a sweet little Teddy kind of character. Like he's such a sweet baby, and I want him to be happy. And Rose is a little feistier. She's like that circus act kind of really loud personality. And so there was like the scene toward the end of Leather and Lark where it turns out that Rose had gotten shot by Abe whenever they were getting Lark out of the easy bake oven, I'll call it, that scene. And so she ended up getting shot. And so it kind of leaves you on a little cliffhanger, like it to be continued with her and Fionn's story. So I can't wait to see what it's going to be about. I'm sure it's going to be cute. I don't know how it's going to top this one. It has to be tamed down in some ways, I would think, just because of what Fionn's character seems to be. But can't wait. So excited. I'm a fan. The Ruinous Love trilogy. We even get like a song that's titled Ruinous Love in this book. So there's just so many memorable moments. I was all about it. There wasn't anything really grotesque like Rowan eating the flesh or the weird ice cream from the first book. There was like other nasty stuff that happened in this book, but like nothing that detracted from me buying into the sexiness of the male love interest in this book. So that was better in my opinion, but no, just what the fuck is going on type of thing. But anyway, if you're watching this video, I'm guessing that you have read both of the books now, since this is a sequel book. So let me know what you thought, which one was better, if you just don't like them, if you really like them, and what you're looking forward to in the next book, because I'm gushing about these books. They're just so funny, and I will be pitching them to all of my friends. I hope you enjoyed my chaotic banter about it, and then until next week, I will see you soon. All right, bye!